So today we are going live to talk about episode 4. We're going to be talking about faith today. So we're basically, let me move my little script here. We're basically going to be talking about my journey and my walk with faith during this time of grief and dealing with loss and different types of obstacles. We're going to talk about how it gave me comfort. We're going to talk about the tough things that I'm still working through. So let's just get right into it. So, when my mom first passed away, I felt like two things. I felt pertaining to faith, right? So I felt peace, which is odd because when someone passes, you don't really feel peace right away. Maybe a little later, but not right away. But when I was next to my mom, I can tell you that I felt peace. I was just praying over her and I felt like the presence of God was with us. I knew where she was going. I knew she was going to go to heaven. And that really gave me peace in that moment, which was really a blessing. But I also another thing I felt was like the need and the desire to get closer to God. So when someone passes, you as an individual dealing with that passing and that grief and that loss can go one of two ways. You can either draw near to Christ or go away from Christ. And I decided to like run towards him because I didn't know what else to do. Um, Another thing that I felt was that, like, even though I didn't understand why, I knew I couldn't question his plan. I know that I couldn't be mad at him because he knows our stories. And that was the biggest thing for me because a lot of people around me, I can tell, were angry, didn't understand why. And the thing is, it's like, yeah, I didn't understand why, and I still don't, and I probably won't ever, right? But at the same time, what good is gonna kind of come out of me being mad at God? Nothing. And like I said, it's all part of a plan that we probably don't understand right now. But I just knew I was like, I can't be mad at him. People around me, they were mad and they were like angry and they were like, you should do X, Y, and Z. You should feel X, Y, and Z. And I was like, well, I don't because I don't want to um be mad. I don't want to resent Christ. I just don't want to have that negativity towards him because we don't know why things happen. And so I just held on to the promises that he has for me and my family. Um like I said, I just ran closer to God. I made sure that I had community around me, and that's the next thing I wanna get into is, like, I know we spoke about community, right? But, so my church community. So we went to a Christmas service, and this Christmas service was something that was really, really important for me. Me and my mom would always go to all the Christmas services at church and stuff like that. And being that it was near the holidays, it was very important for me and all of my family to go. I really wanted like people who normally don't go to church, like for example, like my uncle, like I really wanted him to be there. And he was. I had a lot of other family that were like my siblings, they had joined me when the service was on. And so it was really beautiful just to keep um, the faith alive in the family and like plant those seeds because I knew that everybody was struggling and I know that everyone's relationship with Christ is very different. But for me, seeing my family there definitely was a blessing. Um, and yeah, it was something that I really, really loved to see. So shortly after the holidays, my church, when I had started going back to church again back in December, it was, I think, let me see. The church service for Christmas was around Christmas time, right? And then after that, I think I had started going back to church. I don't know if I took a week off or what, but the next service I went to in January was, um, just regular service. And during the announcements, they had mentioned that they had a grief and support group that was starting, or closing or something like that. It was starting at the end of the month, but I think the slots were closed or maybe they had minimal spots available. It was for the next 8 weeks. So, um with that, I think I tried to sign up online, but I didn't see it anymore, which means that it was closed. So I had text somebody at the church and I was like, "Hey, like, you know my situation. I really need to do this. Like, I really need to get closer to God and I want to join this grief and support group. Like, I think it would be good for me." They agreed. And then they basically signed me up and put me in the group. And then I got the email that it was starting, and that was at the end of January until March. And that support group helped me so much because it gave me time and midst of like everything to actually sit and grieve and relate to others who are also dealing with different stories of grief. Um, I cried literally almost every session. We had awesome leaders who one of them was actually able to kind of relate to my story, not in the same reason of like how this their loved one passed away, right? But it was their mother who passed away, so she was able to relate to me. There was a bunch of other stories, and again, I'm not going to tell you them because that's not my story to tell, but it just really helped me in that moment just be with people who were also grieving. So, and it also just gave me, again, that time to grieve because I was doing so much. And I kind of felt like I was on survival mode where I would just also just distract myself. So it was just a lot of different things where I really needed this time. And the Lord knew that I needed this group and He was able to make a way for me. So I was so thankful for that. Let's talk about so in the midst of this, so that again, January to March. In the middle of that, my church does Revival Week, and Revival Week is my favorite week. Basically, we worship and seek the Lord all week, and that week I just had a really amazing encounter with Jesus. So, during the services, it's a lot of worship, right? And in the middle of worship, I could remember one night, and I journaled about all of this because it was just so impactful and so powerful for me. But I remember writing down how um, I was the one to change our family tree and fix our generational curses and stuff like that, you know? So that was really powerful for me because when I think about my future and my family and the way I want to raise my kids, it's in the church. I want them to know Christ and encounter Jesus the way I did. Um, and I will continue to, you know? So I really heard that from God that I was if I'm gonna be the one or my family's gonna be the one to just change the trajectory of our family tree, and it was really amazing to hear from God that that was gonna happen. Um, that night also well, those nights because it's, I think, like, 6 nights in a row, there was lots of people praying for me. There was a super cool group of people like my age from our Hartford campus because my church is one church in multiple locations. And they were able to pray for me because we were all sitting together. And one of the nights it was to pray for the people around you. I broke down, I told them my story, they prayed for me, and they prayed for me for probably, like, more than 10 minutes, I don't know, it was such a long prayer, but it was so needed, and it filled me up so much, it also just made me cry and, like, it was beautiful, um, so yeah, it was an amazing encounter, and at the end of Revival Week, on the Friday, we have baptism, so if people want to get baptized, that's their opportunity to do so. And that whole week, I was feeling it. A little bit about my background for context. I grew up Catholic, so I was baptized as a baby. But I felt like I needed to get baptized. I needed to show my expression in love for God, like making that choice for myself, not as a baby. You know what I mean? Because like you don't choose as a baby. So I really wanted to outwardly and show everyone and myself and, God that I love him and that I will um, continue to follow him. So I decided to get baptized at the end. I didn't tell anybody in my family really until after the fact because it really wasn't about anybody else. It was just about me and what I wanted to do for Christ. So really between me and Jesus, and we can go into another video if you want to hear about my baptism story, but it felt amazing. I'm so glad I did it. It's something that I wanted to do and I was able to. And my pastor has always said like there's never going to be a right time to get baptized. Like if you feel the conviction to get baptized, then get baptized. Like it doesn't matter if your mom, if your dad, if grandma, like it doesn't matter who's there. It's just between you and the Lord. So I took that. I was prepared and I got baptized that day. So very, very um exciting. Now we're gonna talk about a little bit of Italy. We're gonna like shift gears because in between like March when I got baptized and May, I was still attending church each week, finishing up my grief and support group and just continuing to just seek the Lord. Um when I was in Italy though, I had to really discipline myself to seek the Lord because I did not have my church with me. I went to church online every Sunday, but it's very different than going to the church. And I was reading heavy in my Bible. I was seeking time with the Lord. I was, yeah, overall just like journaling. I was doing all the things, and it was really good to see that I was able to prioritize my relationship with Christ during that time because it was very isolating. And we will get into that when we talk about Italy. But I was able to cling on to the Lord and just stay close to Him because that's really what I needed to do. And so we're going to talk about now just like asking God those hard questions because when I was in Italy, I had some real vulnerable times, real lonely times, and I just had to be real and honest with God. And remember when I said I wasn't mad? Like, anger didn't start to set in, but it did kind of like come out a little bit. Like, I was just really trying to figure out why my mom had to pass away. That was like really heavy on my heart, and it still kind of is to this day, but let me tell you the story. So God answered my prayer using TikTok. So it's so interesting. He was trying to get me to get off TikTok and into my Bible. But anyways, he used it. And I ended up going to the Bible app or the Bible itself. I can't remember. But I went to the Bible, so it worked. So anyways, he showed me on TikTok Isaiah 57 verses 1 and 2, and it basically answers why my mom had to pass. So this is the verse. It's good people pass away. The godly often die before their time, but no one seems to care or wonder why. No one seems to understand that God is protecting them from the evil to come. For those who follow godly paths will rest in peace when they die. So I was reading this verse over and over and over, just trying to understand. Like, I was confused at the no one seems to care or wonder why, but it's like, Lord, I'm sitting here. I care. I wonder why. Like, I didn't understand that part. But the part about God is protecting them from the evil to come gave me this sense of comfort because you never know what could happen. And God was protecting her. He had to take her and protect her, I guess. And part of me is still like, but protect her from what? And then a lot of questions come after that. But the fact that God is protecting her, God is so good. So I can't like you can't question. He gave me the answer. So it kind of it answered that question for me while I was away from everyone everyone at home, excuse me, and gave me that sense of peace that I was looking for. Another verse that also came up while I was in Italy a lot, and I was able to like hold on to was Romans 5:3-5. So it goes, we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confidence of hope. No, 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 no. Let me go back. We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment, for we know how dearly God loves us, because he has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our heart with his love. So that gave me a lot of strength. Because I was just also not even just wondering why, but I was wondering, why am I going through this? Why did I have to lose my mom? Like, why me? Why this trial? And I think it's really just the Lord putting me through these trials to, like he said, build endurance, strengthen character, um, strengthen our confidence in the Lord. Like, he is testing me and seeing if I'm going to flee from him or run to him. And I ran to him. Which this is so the timing is so crazy, because right now I'm in my women's group. We're talking about, actually I need to pull it up. We're talking about we're actually reading First Peter, and let me just go to the Bible app real quick because I just want to read this line. And the timing is so good, so good. So, anyways, in First Peter, let me just get this up. But it basically talks about how we are being tested. So let me read this for you here. All right, First Peter 1 says, these trials will show you that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. Though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise and glory and honor on the day when Jesus Christ is revealed to the whole world. Boom. So it's just a test of faith. That's all. And that's how I'm choosing to see it. Oh my gosh, I didn't even have to go look for it because I put it right here, but it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, so it's a test of faith. And yeah. Anyway, so that was something that, like, from Italy, that I was like clinging on to. It was a verse that I was clinging on to and trying to memorize and or like summarize into my own words, um and just make sense of everything. And then that's First Peter 1 is a verse that we literally just talked about in our group last Wednesday. So the Lord is just making everything connect, as he always does. Another verse that I like clinged to and held on to was a verse about like my strength coming from the Lord and him filling me up. Because sometimes I did not feel strong, and I just felt like I just wasn't strong, and I needed the Lord to give me strength. So it's Isaiah again, Isaiah 58:11. The Lord will guide you continually, giving you water when you are dry and restoring your strength. You will be a well-watered garden like an ever-flowing spring. I love that verse because I really needed guidance. I did not know what was going to happen next when I came back home from Italy. And um so the fact that it's just another promise that I can hold on to. The Lord will guide me and give me water, restore my strength. Like, it really did help me out during that time. While I was in Italy, again, lots of prayer was going on. And one of the things that I prayed for was community. I really wanted community for when I returned home, people from my church, women from my church. And I was like getting real specific, like people around my age, like, and the way that this prayer was answered at the beginning of April of this year, so crazy. Because now, like I said, I'm in a women's group right now. We're all following Jesus. We're all learning from each other and deepening our faith and just building relationship with one another. So God is answering prayers. And yeah, I feel like everything happens for a reason, and his plan is so good for us, and sometimes we question it, sometimes we don't want to um obey because we're like, no, this is not what I want to do. My plan is better than his plan, but it's not. It's really not. um so a couple things that I just like held on to and I still like stand firm in is waiting on the Lord. um and a couple of these are like from songs because I was listening to a lot of worship music. But just waiting on the Lord, that morning turns into dancing. I love that because when you mourn, like you can also praise the Lord, just thank him for all that he's done, how far he's gotten you through. Um, so that's from a song, but that really resonated with me. Um, he gave me peace that makes no sense because in those times I still had little pockets of peace and I had joy in chaos. Like all of that is so true. Like when you grab hold of the Lord, you are like it's so contradictory, right? Cuz like you're mourning, you're like, "No, I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that." But the Lord gives you joy in those moments. The Lord gives you peace in those moments, and he really did give me both of those things. Another thing that I cling on to was I'm not alone because, like I said, I felt very, very lonely and isolated while I was in Italy, and sometimes still when I'm at home. Like I feel like I'm not the only one going through this, but sometimes it feels like I'm the only one going through this. Um, so just knowing that I'm not alone and that he's always with me. Another thing that I was holding on to was again leaning not onto my own understanding, that he has plans for my future and that they are good plans and that I can trust him. Those things all are still, I would say, still work in progresses because I trust the Lord. I know he has plans for my future and that they are good. But sometimes doubt creeps in. Sometimes unbelief creeps in. And we all have issues with letting go of control over our lives. And so I'm still working on that in my heart, but I still do believe all of that. I just cling on to those promises. But yeah, so that's just like a little bit about my faith journey um since after my mom passed. I ran to the Lord because I didn't know what else to do. And I knew that he was good and I knew all the promises that he has. So I really just wanted to cling on to him and make sure that I was good with him in my relationship with him because a lot of I like just imagine my life could have been completely different if I did not cling on to the Lord. Like I don't know where I would have been. And he's given me so much strength and so much joy during these crazy times. So yeah, that's just a little bit about my story and my faith journey during during the last 18 months. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.